What if the next era of warfare didn't rely on missiles or bullets at all, but on pure energy? Right now, the US military is quietly fielding one of the most revolutionary technologies we've ever seen. From warships firing high-energy lasers to mobile ground systems that can shoot down drones with light, directed energy weapons are no longer the future. They're here, and they're changing everything. Welcome to Learning Military, where we break down the strategies, technology, and stories shaping modern defense. If you're into serious military analysis with real-world relevance, now's the time to subscribe and turn on notifications. We're building a smart, engaged community, and we'd love to have you on board. And if this video brings you value, consider dropping a super thanks. It really helps us keep going. So let's go ahead and get into it. Before Helios, LAWS, and mobile army lasers, there were decades of experimentation and a fair amount of skepticism. The US first got serious about directed energy during the Cold War. In the 1980s, under President Reagan, there was a bold and controversial idea called the Strategic Defense Initiative, or it was nicknamed Star Wars. The goal? Use space-based lasers to shoot down Soviet ICBMs in flight. It was ambitious, expensive, and way ahead of what the technology could deliver at the time. But it lit the fuse, no pun intended. Through the 90s and early 2000s, labs like DARPA and the Air Force Research Laboratory pushed the limits of high-energy lasers. One of the earliest large-scale systems was the airborne laser, a modified Boeing 747 fitted with a massive chemical laser in its nose. The idea was to shoot down enemy missiles shortly after launch. In 2010, it actually worked, a successful intercept of a test missile over the Pacific. But the system was bulky, costly, and chemically fueled. By 2011, it was shelved. The turning point came when solid-state laser technology really started catching up. No toxic fuel, just electricity, optics, and advanced beam control. That's when real prototypes started making the leap from the labs to the field. Systems like LAWS and Athena were direct descendants of these Cold War ambitions, built with modern technology that actually worked in combat environments. In other words, the military's been chasing the dream for over 40 years, and only now is the tech finally catching up with the vision. So what exactly are directed energy weapons, and why are they suddenly everywhere? Directed energy weapons, or DEWs, aren't just cool-sounding concepts. They're real systems that use focused energy, typically high-powered lasers, to disable or destroy targets. Instead of explosive force, you get intense light, a beam that can melt through drones, blind optics, or knock out incoming missiles, and it moves at the speed of light. What's changed is the tech. Power generation, targeting software, and beam control have all improved. A decade ago, this stuff was lab-bound. Now, it's rolling out on ships, trucks, and even aircraft. And that shift matters, because in a world full of cheap drones, saturation strikes, and hypersonic weapons, lasers give us a cost-effective, nearly limitless, and incredibly fast way to fight back. The US Navy led the charge. Back in 2014, they mounted a laser weapon. It was called the LAWS, the Laser Weapon System. It wasn't flashy, it looked more like an oversized telescope, but it worked. LAWS successfully shot down drones and disabled small boats. It used a 30 kilowatt beam and cost just pennies to shoot. Compare that to a missile that might cost $500,000. More importantly, LAWS wasn't just a science experiment, it was operational. Crews trained on it. They used it. It gave the Navy real-world experience in using directed energy weapons on the ocean, in all weather, in actual security missions. And it proved something crucial. Lasers weren't just theoretical anymore. They were tactical. But LAWS was just the first step. Now we've got Helios, and Helios changes everything. Helios stands for High Energy Laser and Integrated Optical Dazzler and Surveillance. It's a long name for what's probably the most advanced laser weapon the Navy has ever fielded. Developed by Lockheed Martin, Helios is built to work directly with the Aegis combat system. That means it's fully integrated, not just a bolt-on system. In late 2024, the USS Preble became the first destroyer to test-fire Helios. It hit an aerial drone with a 60 kilowatt laser. That's double the power of LAWS, and it's scalable, potentially up to 120 kilowatts in future upgrades. But Helios does more than just burn through targets. It can blind enemy sensors with its Dazzler. It can track incoming threats and feed data back into the ship's command network. It's part weapon, part sensor, part electronic warfare tool. And it runs on power. As long as the ship has electricity, it has ammo. That's the real breakthrough. A nearly unlimited magazine, instant firing, no explosive risk, no logistics strain. Helios isn't theoretical, it's deployed, and it's going to change the way ships defend themselves, especially against drone swarms, cruise missiles, and other fast-moving threats. But it's not just the Navy that's investing in lasers. The Army is going mobile. The Army faces different challenges, mainly from drones, rockets, mortars, and missiles that can come in fast and cheap. So they're developing laser systems that can be mounted on vehicles and deployed to the battlefield. One example is the high-energy laser mobile demonstrator. It's a truck-mounted laser designed to take down incoming threats before they hit. This isn't just lab testing. These systems have shown they can knock out quadcopters, shoot down artillery shells, and protect forward bases in real time. The goal is to get these systems small and reliable enough to roll out across multiple platforms: strikers, tactical trucks, even stationary base defense units. Why? Because traditional defenses, like interceptors, are expensive and limited. You don't want to burn a $200,000 missile to stop a $500 drone. With a laser, you don't have to. This is battlefield economics at its finest, and it's going to shift how the Army thinks about air and missile defense. Meanwhile, the Air Force is looking up too. Their focus is on defending aircraft, especially high-value assets like bombers and tankers, from enemy missiles. To do that, they're testing laser systems that could one day be mounted on planes. Programs like Athena and SHIELD are aiming to give U.S. aircraft a way to defend themselves with light. It's a tall order, literally. You need a system that's powerful, compact, and stable enough to operate at high altitude with all the vibration, airflow, and thermal challenges that come with it. But if it works, you could have aircraft shooting down enemy missiles mid-air with no explosives, no noise, and no warning. The idea of a B-52 or KC-135 defending itself with a turreted laser isn't far-fetched anymore. It's a real possibility, and in a future filled with hypersonic weapons and long-range threats, it might be essential. So let's step back. Why are directed energy weapons such a big deal? Why is every branch of the US military investing in them? 3 reasons: speed, cost, and flexibility. Lasers travel at the speed of light. That gives you near instant response against fast or close-range threats. You see a drone, you shoot. No flight time, no intercept delay. Second, cost. Once you install the systems, each shot is incredibly cheap. A laser beam doesn't cost much to fire, and that's a big deal in long fights or swarm attacks. Third, flexibility. Lasers can be tuned to destroy, disable, or dazzle. You can blind sensors, knock drones out of the sky, or burn through metal, depending on what you need. And perhaps most important, no reloads. As long as you've got power, you've got firepower. That's a major leap forward, especially as adversaries use cheaper, faster, and more disposable weapons. Looking ahead, this tech is only going to spread. The Navy plans to put Helios or similar lasers on more destroyers. The Army wants to deploy lasers on strikers and mobile platforms. The Air Force continues to push forward on aircraft defense and even satellite protection. Space? Yeah, that's a long-term goal too. Directed energy weapons in orbit could protect satellites, disable enemy systems, or even neutralize space-based threats. This isn't just one weapon. It's a family of capabilities: land, sea, air, and maybe even space. This is about layered defense, seamless integration, and changing the cost equation of war. Directed energy weapons aren't just cool tech, they're a strategic pivot. Just like how the Navy repurposed the USS Zumwalt to carry hypersonics, systems like Helios are showing what happens when the military adapts in real time. From Cold War experiments to real-world weapons, it took decades, but now the era of laser warfare is here. If you learned something today, give this video a like. It tells the algorithm this is worth watching. And if you're not subscribed yet, now's a great time. We've got deep dives, strategy analysis, and tech breakdowns coming every week. Drop a super thanks if you want to support the channel directly, and let me know in the comments, what do you think is the most underrated tech in the military today? This is Learning Military. Until next time, stay informed, stay sharp, and stay ahead. Thanks for watching.